5 o'clock report.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for joining us today. At the top of our news, Dallas-based LTV showed off its latest missile today. The Army wants it, the company needs it, but bad timing could kill it. Texas News 5's Jim Douglas was among a small group of journalists who saw a test flight today in New Mexico. It must have been interesting.
Yeah, it really was. LTV is building the Army's new tactical missile system, or ATACMS for short. It's a non-nuclear weapon designed to kill hundreds of enemy soldiers deep in their own territory. LTV is testing ATACMS at the White Sands Missile Range near El Paso. The missile can fly 2,200 miles an hour, 60 miles behind enemy lines. Then it opens up to pepper its target with 1,000 grenades. In Pentagonese, bomblets drop during a positive warhead event. ATACMS could bury a battalion in a hail of death. The Army wants this system.
Well, the Army does not have a capability to go after targets that are deep today, so the Army needs the system as soon as possible.
Military and LTV officials claim ATACMS is on target for performance, deadline, and budget. It's relatively cheap because it uses an LTV launcher already in production. But now there's talk of troop reductions in Europe, and the U.S. Defense Secretary is warning of budget cuts. LTV's Ron Taylor.
Even though in times of shrinking defense budgets, I think the importance of systems like Army ATACMS will hold their own and will probably fare fairly well in the next several years.
LTV's missile division employs nearly 4,000 Texans locally, and the missile division subsidizes other LTV endeavors. So there's a lot riding on ATACMS for the company and for the Metroplex, Jane.
This was an unusual thing for you to be invited to do this today. Not you specifically, but reporters. Did they do this to whip up support?
That's definitely what we thought going down there. I mean, this was a good old-fashioned press junket. We were wined and dined. LTV officials say that they planned this long ago. They just wanted to show off a system that is both efficient and effective at a time when we're hearing about $600 toilet seats for the military. And this does seem to be a cost-effective system, but whether or not it'll make it through budget cuts, who can say?
Okay, it'll be interesting to follow it and see what happens.
More at 6.
Thank you, Jim.
From KDFW-TV, Dallas-Fort Worth, believing in Texas. Channel 4 News, working for you, with Steve Bosch, Clarice Tinsley, Mike Berger, and Ted Dawson. This is Channel 4 News, the 10 o'clock report.
Central America aside, the prospects of peace are making the sell much tougher for Metroplex defense contractors. A new missile system tested today by Grand Prairie's LTV scored success with the U.S. Army. But Channel 4's Richard Ray reports from White Sands, New Mexico, one of our state's hottest industries is threatened by the ending of the Cold War.
LTV was confident enough in the ATACMS missile to invite journalists along today for a test launch at the White Sands Missile Range north of El Paso.
One, expire.
The ATACMS missile is designed to deliver a non-nuclear payload, about 1,000 baseball-sized grenades. The sort of long-range artillery the Army feels it would need to fight a tactical war in Europe or elsewhere, striking a potential aggressor 60 miles or more behind enemy lines.
It's so accurate, it's so lethal, it has such range to it that he really has to think whether or not he wants to continue any type of aggressive action.
The Army definitely wants the system. We have a contract with LTV currently for 66 missiles that will be, the first of which will be delivered to us in February of 1990.
In fact, the Army has a $400 million contract to buy 1,000 missiles in stages over the next 4 years. But as the Cold War thaws, as the Pentagon sees its budget being squeezed, the question is, will Washington follow through?
And there are no guarantees in this business.
At stake are hundreds of jobs at LTV's Missile Division headquarters in Grand Prairie. The company counts 22 of its 25 test launches successful, but seems resigned to at least some cutbacks in actual purchases.
You could have a percentage reduction each year. Instead of buying 500, you might buy 450. But I'm pretty optimistic that we will have a good, solid program.
The bottom line is LTV has a great deal riding on the Army ATACMS program, and in these days of a shrinking defense dollar, nothing is a lock. Richard Ray, Channel 4 News, White Sands, New Mexico.
Working in the spirit of Texas, WFAA-TV presents Tracy Rowlett, Chip Moody, Troy Dungan, and Dale Hansen. This is the News 8 Update.
A new missile streaked across the sky over the barren desert of New Mexico today, carrying the hope of better economic times at the Dallas-based LTV Corporation. Channel 8's Bill Brown reports now from the Army's White Sands Missile Range.
A cold, bright morning amid the desert and mountains of southern New Mexico. This is the birthplace of America's development of rockets and missiles. Reporters and photographers are gathered to witness the first public launch of a new missile for the Army. It's LTV's Army Tactical Missile System, or ATACMS. Newer and better, they say, than the Dallas company's current MLRS rocket system. 6 miles away, soldiers are loading the 13-foot missile into its launcher.
One, fire.
The rocket-powered missile arcs steeply, rises higher than 100,000 feet as it travels 83 miles downrange. In combat, the missile would carry 1,000 bomblets, each of them like a small hand grenade. Above ground, they are to explode and rain death down on enemy troops over a wide area.
Because it's real hard to turn the tide of battle when they're, when you're looking right across the line against them. If you can get them while they're 100 kilometers or more deep, then you have a much better opportunity of influencing the battle.
The test is pronounced a success. LTV, now operating under bankruptcy, has a contract to produce 66 of the missiles. Company leaders hope eventually it gets the go-ahead to make 1,000 of them, costing billions. The brass in the Pentagon say the new missile can do things none of its present weapons can. But with the communist threat seeming to lessen almost daily, does this nation really need a costly new weapon?
NATO will remain strong. A strong defensive posture is, many people believe, it has brought us the acceleration of peace, and it would appear that a strong defensive posture for the country will always be necessary.
LTV is hoping the Army likes this new missile well enough to buy $2 to $3 billion worth of them. But now with peace breaking out all over, the days of fat U.S. defense budgets could be numbered. So it's possible this weapon system could never get off the ground. Bill Brown, Channel 8 News at White Sands Missile Range, New Mexico.
Channel 5, building a better Texas. This is Texas News 5 with Brad Wright, Alice Carone, Scott Murray on sports, and Chief Meteorologist Harold Taft. And now, Texas News 5, the 6 o'clock report.
While Texans talk of peace, they prepare for war. Dallas-based LTV is testing a new missile that company officials say could deter war while preserving hundreds of local jobs. Texas News 5's Jim Douglas witnessed a test firing of the missile near El Paso early this morning.
If America ever had to fight another war in Europe, it could have a devastating new non-nuclear weapon, the Tactical Missile System, or ATACMS. LTV is testing ATACMS at the White Sands Missile Range near El Paso.
3, 2, 1.
ATACMS can fly 60 miles behind enemy lines, then drop 1,000 grenades in a tight pattern. It could destroy an entire command post or kill a battalion of soldiers. This is test flight number 25. Like virtually all of the preceding 24, this one exceeded Army specifications. That could save ATACMS from the military budget acts now on the downswing.
We've had our share of cuts due to the reduction of the defense budget, but the program is well supported.
LTV officials say the company stands to make $2 to $3 billion from ATACMS. A long-term production contract could save hundreds of local jobs.
We had in excess of 400 people at LTV working on the program in one fashion or another.
Although ATACMS is fully funded in the current budget, there is no guarantee of full-fledged production. And ATACMS is coming online at a time when tensions are cooling in Europe, where the system would be used. But LTV's Ron Taylor says the missile would be even more useful if there are fewer soldiers in the field.
ATACMS has a lot going for it. It's deadly accurate, uses conventional proven technology, and is relatively inexpensive. In fact, its biggest enemy could turn out to be a lack of enemies to shoot it at. Jim Douglas, Texas News 5.
Channel 5, building a better Texas.
So I don't think these people who are trying to overthrow the government have any popular support at all.
I would love to see a guarantee on decontaminating the house.
This is Texas News 5 with Brad Wright, Alice Carone, Scott Murray on sports, and Chief Meteorologist Harold Taft. And now, Texas News 5, the 10 o'clock report.
Dallas-based LTV is giving us a rare glimpse of a new missile in development for the Army.
2, 1.
The Tactical Missile System, or ATACMS, can fly 60 miles into enemy territory, then drop 1,000 grenades on ground troops. Army observers say that in test flights, ATACMS is remarkably accurate, reliable, and inexpensive. Hundreds of local jobs are riding on the success of ATACMS, and the system could generate $2 to $3 billion for LTV, but there's no guarantee of funding beyond the current budget, and tensions are cooling in Europe where the system would be deployed.
Still.
Officials with the U.S. Army Missile Command here in Huntsville attended today's successful firing of a new Army missile. The test took place at the White Sands Missile Range in New Mexico, where the LTV Missile Division fired an Army ATACMS rocket from its new deep attack launcher. The Army can use the ATACMS to hit targets more than 60 miles behind enemy lines. The missile has an internal guidance system that enables it to make mid-course adjustments for maximum accuracy. Eventually, the ATACMS will be turned over to the Army for a series of operational tests under battlefield.
This is Channel 4, KARK-TV, Little Rock.
Now, from Channel 4 Eyewitness News, Bob Donaldson, Carol Copeland, Tom Bonner's weather, and Dave Woodman's sports. This is the Arkansas Evening News.
Well, they have reason to be happy in Camden tonight. A new missile launcher made at the LTV defense plant there successfully fired in New Mexico today. The test at the White Sands Range in New Mexico was for a new deep attack launcher capable of hitting enemy positions up to 60 miles away. The race for lieutenant governor now has two candidates.
KDBC Channel 4, bringing you the latest news from Texas, New Mexico, and the world. This is News for El Paso tonight with Estella Casas, Bill Mitchell, and Ali Nojos on special assignment, Rick Glancy with the AccuWeather forecast, and Chip Tversky with sports.
Tactical missile system completed another successful test firing today. The system is designed to provide added firepower to U.S. ground forces. The missile is built by a division of LTV Corporation in Dallas. It was fired from what is called a deep attack launcher. In combat, the missile could be used to hit targets more than 60 miles behind enemy lines. The system has been under development since 1986.
Live from the KBIA-TV Telecommunications Center, this is the most watched early newscast in West Texas and southern New Mexico with Suzanne Michaels, Gary Warner, John Fawcett with weather, and Fred Albers on sports.
The Army successfully tested a new medium and long-range guided missile this morning at White Sands Missile Range.
News 7's Kim McNutt was there for the firing and reports the missile can be launched from existing multiple launch rocket systems, making it cost-effective for an ever-shrinking defense budget.
The 13-foot-long guided missile is an anti-personnel and anti-armor weapon. It has a range of more than 60 miles, which means it can strike targets deep behind enemy lines with deadly accuracy. These so-called smart missiles contain their own guidance systems that allow course adjustments on the way to a particular target. The firing was a success, pleasing both Army and LTV officials. LTV has been awarded a 5-year, $942 million contract to deliver 235 launchers and 127,000 missiles. Today's missile firing marked a first. It was the first time soldiers fired the missile from within the armored crew cabin. Army specialist Tom Gerdeau was the system's human guinea pig.
It's a slight shock, and it's a little bit quieter than the regular MLS rounds, but it's pretty exciting.
The MLRS is highly mobile, permitting its crew of 3 to accurately shoot a complete 12-rocket load, quickly reload and fire again. The new Army TAC missile system will be well suited for the European theater, where NATO commanders must delay, disrupt, and eliminate advancing Warsaw Pact second echelon forces before they have a chance to reach the actual field of battle. Kim McNutt, News 7, White Sands Missile Range.
And News 7.